Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Last time my video was talking about Christmas planning and making sure that you are setting aside money every single month in preparation for what you think you're going to spend at Christmas time. And the idea here is really a sinking fund. And I realized I'm not sure that I've really discussed this in the past, but this is a pretty practical approach to saving money for anticipated large expenses that you know are coming, and you put some effort toward organizing your finances in a way where when that expense happens, you don't blow your monthly budget and put yourself in a position where you can't afford the recurring bills that you already know you have to pay with that month. So, what I wanted to do today is just kind of talk about the sinking funds that I have, share with you how much that ends up adding up to. But please know that as I'm doing this, I'm really doing it so that you can get a sense on some sinking funds you might need to save for, but also to show you what I'm able to focus on now and save for now that I am completely debt free. So some of my sinking funds might not make sense for somebody who's still in the throes of paying debt back, but I get to look at my financial future differently now because I have succeeded in paying off all of my debt, and that is what I want for you guys. So I'm going to pull up some spreadsheets now and show those to you. This is going to be a pretty quick video just to give you some ideas on sinking funds that either you should have now or ones that you may want in the future, and I hope it's helpful to you. But before I forget, again, thank you for coming to my channel. Please be sure to hit subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have, thank you for coming back. Let's talk about financial freedom and ways to get there. All right, so here are my sinking funds, and I've broken them into 5 categories. The first category is property, and this one is probably the most noteworthy for those of you who don't have a mortgage any longer or who are on track to pay off your mortgage really soon. The reason it's noteworthy is because once your mortgage is paid off, you need to make sure that you are accounting for your property tax and your property insurance on your own. While you're paying a mortgage, the financial institution servicing your loan will escrow your property tax and your property insurance, so it's taken care of by your monthly mortgage payment. And when you have paid off the home, you now need to make sure that you are prepared to cover those bills when they come up. They're pretty hefty for most places. I've selected to live in Missouri, which is a low cost of living state. So what I have to pay for this is actually really low, but for most places, this can be an extremely high number. Our property tax and property insurance, ironically, happen to be the same amount. It's $2,250. So for both of those, I divide it by 12, and therefore I come up with $187.50. Additionally, I set aside money for maintenance. The maintenance is usually just a pile of money that is growing month over month, so that if something comes up in the future, like I might need a new roof, or I want to install a water heater, or I might want to, the fridge might go out and I need to replace the fridge. These are things that if I can build a sinking fund for it, I don't need to lean into my emergency fund later on. So that being said, a lot of the smaller maintenance expenses I can cover just by cash flowing it in my regular monthly budget, because a lot of those things are not so high, and since I no longer pay anyone in terms of credit cards or other debt payments, I have a lot more flexibility in my monthly budget. So for example, if I know that I want to paint the house and I'm going to spend $300 in paint, that's probably not a very good example numbers wise, but let's say I want to do that. I might just cash flow that $300 and put a little bit less to my other savings activities on that month in order to cash flow the maintenance that I want to do. So this home maintenance category is more like building a savings account for larger expenses like a window replacement or something like that should it come down the road. Similarly, I have a car savings / maintenance category. Typically for car maintenance, it's tune-ups and oil changes. Our cars are a 2008 and a 2015. So because of that, they're relatively new and we've always kept up on the maintenance schedule. So the majority of the money that's building up in this savings account is for us to replace the cars later down the road. I would imagine that both of us, my husband and I, will be in our vehicles for at least another 10 years. maybe even longer if we keep up the maintenance. Neither one of us really has a problem driving a vehicle until the wheels fall off. All right, maybe that's an exaggeration, but the main point is that I'm setting aside $300 every month in preparation of purchasing a new car in the future. I will comment that it's going to be a new to us car versus a brand new car, because I have learned through Dave Ramsey that purchasing something that's already been off the lot for a year to 2 years, so a certified pre-owned vehicle, means that somebody else is going to take that first initial depreciation hit on the vehicle, and so I will probably get a greater bang for my buck. That's why you don't see me setting aside $400 or $500 a month like you might see for a car payment. Next, we have car insurance. We pay that every 6 months. So since it's a semi-annual bill, you'll see that I took the $500 in car insurance and divided it by 6. And then lastly, we have car registration. So for both of our vehicles, that adds up to about $600 a year, and therefore you see 600 divided by 12. We do have some recurring household expenses, the largest of which is our annual taxes. Frankly, this past year, we only had to pay in $2,500, and that's not been the norm for us. We usually have to pay in between $3,500 and $4,000. So we decided to stay conservative and pretend that we'll need to pay in next year $4,000 again, and that's why you see 4,000 divided by 12. That being said, again, we did choose to move to a lower cost of living area, and the taxes are different in Missouri. I haven't fully understood all of that yet. We do work with an accountant, but just to err on the side of caution, we're setting aside money like what we've had to pay in the past, although in fairness, I do think we will pay in less in 2020. So this number will get adjusted if we can see a smaller tax payment in 2020 than we've had to pay in the years past. We also have Amazon Prime out here. Frankly, this is one that I could easily cash flow, but for whatever reason, I've left it out here, so I'm going to keep it put for now. We also have an HOA that we need to pay on an annual basis. It's $300. It always sneaks up on me, so I've just included it in my sinking funds. And then lastly, our local rec center, we also pay that $500 annually, so I've divided it by 12. These categories in the left side of my spreadsheet are really more like maintenance and household expenses, whereas these ones in column D are more entertainment expenses. And because, again, we are debt-free and we do have a lot of flexibility with our monthly budget, I don't have to account for minor entertainment expenses, only the major ones, which for us are typically vacation, birthdays, and Christmas. For birthdays, we typically spend $200 to $400 per family member on our birthdays. The kids are usually closer to $200, and then my husband and I, we might go up to $400. We've kind of gotten to a point in our lives where birthdays are more for the kids, because we've slowly realized that a lot of times if we want something throughout the year, we just go and buy it anyway. So birthdays are not as spectacular for us as they have been. So while we have gone up to $400 per adult in our household, we don't really do that as much anymore. But I still set aside $200 a month because it is money that now I can take from to cover for the birthday parties the kids are now being invited to that are usually $20 or $30 each. It accounts for family member birthdays that we might want to send a gift, and it accounts for if we decide to do a bigger party. So for example, we invited family members and friends to for my daughter's birthday to a local water park, and that ended up being much more expensive than anticipated, but we could easily sustain it because we set aside every month for birthdays. And in my last video, I talked about Christmas, so I won't delve in too deep there, but I will say at $200 a month set aside, that brings me to $2,400. That means I'm cash flowing that extra $100 or so that's needed to match my $2,500 I usually spend for Christmas. And Christmas is one of my most expensive holidays. All the other holidays I can typically cash flow no problem. And then lastly, we've got vacation. So our household, we typically take 2 vacations a year. One is more of a major vacation, and then we have some minor vacation. that's more like a road trip or a camping trip. This one is for the minor vacation, so perhaps we might road trip to South Dakota or to Montana or back to Colorado, but we don't really want to have to penny pinch while we're there, so we are able to do that very liberally by having about $3,600 set aside every year for vacation because of this sinking fund. We are also able to afford one larger vacation a year, and today I don't have a sinking fund for that, and that's because we typically pay for that trip out of my annual bonus. So my annual bonus pays in the beginning of March, and that trip typically occurs sometime in the summer window. Say that's going to cost $7,000. My bonus will cover that full $7,000. And so as long as I'm still employed and I still get my bonus, that would be accounted for there. All right, guys, so those were my spreadsheets for sinking funds. I had a few other tabs on that. That's actually my full budget template. So in that spreadsheet, you would have seen budget template on the bottom, and then you would have also seen like how an emergency savings tab, our net worth tab, our duplex tab. So that spreadsheet or workbook is my collection of financial management spreadsheets that I use. And I hope over time that I'll be able to do videos and share the rest of that content with you. But again, today I wanted to focus specifically on sinking funds and try to keep the video relatively short. I hope this was useful to you. Let me know in the comments, what sinking funds do you save for? There's a whole slew of other sinking funds that you might need, but definitely medical is top of mind. Vacation to me, like I said, is a big one, but I'd be really curious to know what other sinking funds might you have. So please be sure to comment, like, and share. And again, thank you for watching.